The deal has been released, so we'll actually be able to see what's going on in the railroad sector right now, or what's tentatively going to be going on, because the shutdown isn't stopped, it's delayed. So we'll be talking about that, what that means, and what that actually means politically, but also for your wallet. So we'll be talking about that. In other news, 2 buses of migrants are dropped off outside of the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. Yes, the border is secure. Kamala Harris has 2 busloads dropped off right in front of her official residence to remind her how secure the border is. So we'll be talking about that. Martha's Vineyard explodes in controversy in other parts of the immigration site, as we see the conversations of people who are trying to decide whether or not to help these people or to condemn DeSantis for bringing them up there, plus DeSantis coming out and defending this, and a slew and a litany of other things about this. And just as we find out that there was no 911 traffic about the Boston Children's bomb threats, we suddenly find out that, conveniently, there's an arrest. So, we'll be talking about that. It is going to be all this and more, plus live chat today. I'm Jay Edgar. Welcome back to the main channel, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. Welcome to live chat too, by the way. Plus, we are back on the main channel. I'm actually on both for a day, which means I might get my first strike on the backup channel, just in case. I'm sure they're watching me right now, so I gotta watch my tongue. I really do, because I am planning on doing a big major live stream for the midterms, and I want that to be on the main channel. And by the way, before anything falls off, which is all going to be in November, oddly enough, before anything starts falling off and expiring off of this, the midterms are coming. So that's something to pay attention to as well. But we're here, we're on Contemporary. We actually, because I can see the number of people who are watching live, but I can also, with the notebook, see who all chatted. It was a little bit slow in chat, but I mean, there have been a ton of people here, so we're reaching out. We're actually reaching into new audiences, which is nice. I enjoy that. When we have a consistent 10 on a small show with no corporate advertising, and we're starting to pull 10 in that time slot where everyone else has got their kids in the car listening to the AM radio, listening to Dan O'Donnell or Rush or someone like that, we're starting to move, and we're starting to take over that demographic. It's a slow move, but we're starting to move. So thank you, everybody, for coming in. Everybody who was here but didn't chat, automatically thank you, and I'll say that at the end of the show as well. And everybody who chatted, we'll get your names read at the end of the show. Plus, we'll look through some of the things that you guys are saying today. So definitely come back, hang out with us, and hey, if you gotta lurk, you gotta lurk. It's a fact of life. This is the time slot where people are going to work, bringing their kids to school, stuff like that. And school is back in session, too. My God, I need beard maintenance. Saturday project, beard maintenance. But we got to get into it. We have got to get started over here on Contemporary, and we've got a lot to do before the hard cutoff of just after 9, and we start looking over and seeing what you guys are saying in the live chat. But before we get started, guys, make sure you go check out great programming like The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys. Go check out KTZed, Tweets by Brit. Go check out the No Gimmicks Podcast, Mr. Behavior, PJ Patriot. A lot of this stuff is news, and I do encourage you to go back and get your news from those sources because they are the people who are trying to bring you news by the common man for the common man. But I'm looking into this, and I am going to be having a nice conversation with Behavior over the weekend here. I talked to him on his Twitch stream last night and let him know that it's going to be coming here because music studio, movie studio, TV studio, we're moving in with KTZed. Getting into the idea of doing true crime instead of just news. Something that's very entertaining for a lot of people. An explanation as to how some of these things happened and an analysis of true crime. A video game studio. Various things like that. I know it's great to get your news from a place like this where we can show you why this should affect you as a common man, as a person who's made some of the same decisions as you. But there are other avenues that we can go down here to try to break the culture because it's monolithic otherwise, and I don't think that's right. So that's what we're trying to do with this. Let's get through it. Let's get into the finance, and let's get started. Looking into the Dow lost another 0.5% yesterday, bringing itself down to 3961.82. And it is flirting really hard with dropping below its 30,000 mark once again. So this is going to be something to pay attention to, especially with the dollars being overinflated. And by the way, one thing to keep in mind as we look into the Dow numbers is the fact that the number up there, the points, as they say, do represent real world dollars, which is why we look at this and, we have dollars and cents off of this. It's one of the problems that we're having with the fact that it's stubbornly staying around the 30,000 mark is that each of these dollars that are represented in the Dow are worth 8.3% less than they were at this time last year, which at this point last year are worth 7.2% less than they were at the time the year before. So if we adjust for inflation, the Dow is not doing good. But that is something to watch, pay attention to, and see where we go with that. Looking in at Bitcoin, also something that's not doing very good. Your Bitcoin is dropping throughout the day. Looks like it is still up slightly, but it's approaching that mark once again. It's up $59 and 20 US cents to 19,762.80 on the decline right now, and it is below the 20,000 mark once again, bringing us out to the 5-day to see what happened throughout the day yesterday. It held steady throughout the day. It had a one relatively significant drop, probably about the middle of the day yesterday, and then it still held steady once again, keeping itself, on the 5-day, it's down $2,022 even, but we'll continue to watch this and see where this goes. As I always say, this seems to be the best indicator of the shortest term on the economy. So that's something we should pay attention to and see where it is that your groceries, your gas, your energy costs, especially going into winter, are going to be going. So we'll continue to watch this and see where this goes. Looking in at your gas. Holding steady in the Madison area, 318 on the Fleet Farm and DeForest, otherwise 318 across the rest of the Madison area. Coming back out here, it's actually still 318 down here as well. So we're doing somewhat well on gas. We're still not to where we were last Christmas, 289. But we're holding at least. And there are a lot of factors fighting against us holding. So the gas tax holidays are going to expire soon. We're going to have to go start refilling the strategic reserves again soon. It's going to be a mess. And I hope you're prepared. Let's see what IBD has to say. From Investors Business Daily, Dow futures fall, FedEx dives, stock market set to break key level as bull case turns bearish. From Ed Carson. Oh, advertisement. Dow futures fell Friday along with the S&P and the Nasdaq, with FedEx plunging overnight on weak earnings and guidance. The 10-year yield is right on the cusp of hitting long-term highs. The stock market rally continued to weaken on Thursday, with the major indices wiping out Wednesday's slim to modest bounce. The market is still coming to grips with Tuesday's hot CPI inflation report, which upended the bull case of the Federal Reserve slowing rate hikes soon. Adobe crashed on mixed results at a $20 billion acquisition. Oil and natural gas stocks fell with energy prices, but solar and lithium stocks took hefty losses. Neurocrine Biosciences and Vertex Pharmaceuticals will continue to act well, though they haven't been easy to trade either. Meanwhile, the mega-cap stocks continue to weaken. Apple, which on Monday flashed an early buy signal, undercut short-term lows on Thursday. Microsoft is nearing its June lows, while Google parent Alphabet set a 19-month closing low. Neurocrine is on the IBD leaderboard. Microsoft and Google are on the IBD long-term leaders. Vertex Pharmaceuticals is an IBD Big Cap 20. Looking at FedEx. After the close, FedEx reported fiscal first quarter earnings fell 20% versus a year earlier, versus views for an 18% gain. This is not official financial advice. FedEx is actually going to be one to watch in the near future. I do have some insider information that the union over at UPS is getting ready to go for strike. I can't guarantee that they're going to strike, but if they do, no matter how beat up you want your packages, FedEx is going to be your stock to watch. If it's going to sink like this, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I know that I'm going to pick up a little bit of FedEx while it's on sale, because I do anticipate the ability to grab a little bit of short term off of FedEx stock, if the information that I'm getting is accurate. Always check with your financial advisor and see what that person has to say. This is not official financial advice, but this is something to look into and consider as we go. The shipping giant also pulled fiscal 2023 guidance and announced sweeping cost-cutting measures as it faces declining shipping volumes amid a worsening global economy. That is the counterpoint to what I just said, is that people are buying less stuff, so less stuff is getting transported. FedEx has been scheduled to release quarter one results on September 22nd. FedEx dropped 21% early Friday. Arch rival UPS sank 6%. Amazon fell more than 2%. Amazon has reduced its ties with FedEx, but the warning may be bad news for e-commerce overall. I was unaware Amazon ever used FedEx. Every time I've done, every time I've done Amazon, before they started doing their own shipping and before they contracted with the USPS, it was always UPS that brought everything. I don't know that I've ever seen an Amazon package come in FedEx labeling on a FedEx truck. That's not to say it never has, that's just I've never seen it. A number of logistics firms and even packaging firms are falling in pre-market trade. Separately, GE has said continued supply chain issues are pressuring cash flow. GE stock fell 5% early on Friday. On the futures, Dow futures dropped 0.75% versus fair value. The S&P fell 0.9% and the Nasdaq fell 1%. The 10-year yield fell 1 basis point to 3.45. Crude oil futures rose 1% while natural gas edged lower, which that is really surprising. China's economy showed signs of perking up last month amid a new stimulus measure. August industrial production grew 4.2% versus a year earlier, topping views for 3.8%. Retail sales rose 5.4%, besting forecasts for 3.5%. Of course, stimulus in China means, oh, you think that you gotta have sick day? No, we give you overtime when you're sick. Oh, you don't like it? Here, barrel a gun. You go back to work. That's stimulus in China. I am only slightly joking. Retail sales rose 5.4%, beating forecasts for 3.5%. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So I get a little bit more finance here, including the Amtrak news, because that is going to be tied into finance here. But I want to grab one here since we're talking about stagflation, essentially, from NASDAQ.com. Philly Fed Index unexpectedly returns to negative territory in September. From RTT News, Philadelphia area manufacturing activity unexpectedly contracted in the month of September, according to a report released by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia on Thursday. The Philly Fed said its current general activity index slumped to a negative 9.9 in September from a positive 6.2 in August. With negative reading indicating a contraction in regional manufacturing activity, economists had expected the Philly Fed index to drop to a positive 2.8. The much bigger than expected decrease by the headline index partly reflected further contraction in new orders, as the new orders index tumbled to a negative 17.6 in September from a negative 5.1 in August. The shipments index also dove to a positive 8.8 in September from a positive 24.8 in August, indicating a notable slowdown in the pace of growth. The number of employees index also slid to a positive 12.0 in September from a positive 24.1 in August, although a positive reading still indicates job growth, just not very well. The report also showed the prices paid index slumped to a positive 29.8 from a positive 43.6 in August, while the prices received index climbed to a positive 29.6 from a positive 23.3. Now, this is a lot of statistics and a lot of statistical noise to come back out and say, we're getting into stagflation here. People can't afford to go out and buy anything but the necessities. Housing or rent, groceries, and fuel. They're not going out and getting the luxury items. They're not going out and getting a new TV. I went to Target last night because I want to set up and maybe do some video gaming over there, so I'm not just sitting in where my Fire Stick is and, sitting in the chair in the dark and falling asleep in the chair when I play some other video games, because I do want to play something other than Fallout. So I want to set my GameCube up out here and do Twilight Princess. And I got a power strip because the power needs in this apartment are completely untenable for anybody who does any sort of gaming whatsoever. And I went out and I found the cheapest, crappiest $11 power strip that I could find at Target. Whereas under normal circumstances, I would have gone back out and picked up the $20 one that had USB charging ports so I could charge my phone over there. Or any litany of other things, or maybe even put another Fire Stick over there. A litany of other things that I could have done for just an extra $10, but I'm holding that 10 now. Full disclosure, I am trying to buy a house right now too, so every single dollar is going into down payment, or earnest money, or anything else like that, or whatever you call it. Any extra dollar bill that I can get, including what you guys are sending me over on Twitch, over on PayPal, over on Venmo, etc. That is a little bit of a different situation, but still, just to go back and say, I want the cheapest thing I can find. A lot more people are doing that if they do have to go back and replace something. Hell, the little TV that I have over there is a hand-me-down I got from my dad the last time I was up there. So, as less things get manufactured, fewer jobs are needed for this, which means more people go on unemployment and can't afford to go buy other goods. We're in a cycle right now, and it's not looking good. So we will continue to watch this and see what happens off of that. My prediction, because we are nearing the end of the third quarter, I think we're going to be on the line. I can't tell you whether it's going to be a growth or a shrink, but I think it's going to be within a point either way. I initially look at just from the numbers that I've seen over the past quarter, it could go anywhere from a 0.3 down to a 0.3 up, which is a little bit depressing. But I don't think we're getting a major growth, and honestly, I don't know if we're getting a major drop either, because we're getting down to the point where there's no place else to go but up. But we'll continue to watch this, see what happens with that, and where we go. And the last one in finance, because Janet Yellen is supposed to be our savior. Just ask Joe Biden. The Daily Wire reports Janet Yellen, a strong IRS, is critical to the economic success of this country. From Ben Ziesloft. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen launched the Biden admin's efforts to provide the Internal Revenue Service with an $80 billion raise. The Inflation Production Act, which provides funds to hire 87,000 new IRS employees over the next decade, more than doubling the agency's size. During a Thursday speech at the New Carrollton Federal Building in Maryland, Yellen remarked that adequately funding the IRS is core to our success. So says the woman who is going to profit off adequately funding the IRS. I want to see if there's video of the speech. There's never video of the speech. I don't know why I keep looking for it. There never is. It raises the revenue for us to make important investments in our economic strength, she said, and make sure that all Americans are playing by the same rules, and avoids misallocations of resources in the economy at large. And it does so by deterring taxpayers from shifting their activities towards more opaque sources or engaging in tax evasion. Yellen repeated her promise that the new funding would not be directed to increase audits for American households earning less than $400,000 per year, relative to historical levels. However, she failed to clarify that historical levels of audits were far higher as recently as a decade ago. According to a report from the Government Accountability Office, audit rates for Americans earning between $25,000 and $200,000 fell 76% between 2010 and 2019, while those earning less than $25,000 saw audit rates fall by 61%. And this is the one that's going to make the blood boil. The blood of a couple of you out there boil. In all, a strong IRS is critical to the economic success of this country. I am heartened that we're finally reflecting that in our funding decisions, Yellen added. A strong IRS is critical to the economic success of a country. You heard it here first, folks. I'm sitting here saying abolish the IRS, and they're saying they need a stronger one. I know that gets my blood boiling. They are coming for your money. You are getting audited, by the way. But that's what we see coming off of that. Let's talk about the trains. But not the ones that Mayor Pete is involved in. From Reuters. U.S. passenger railroad Amtrak canceling all long-distance trains for now. So, we've averted the strike, but Amtrak is still taking the precautions, which tells me, well, I mean, we already knew that, and I said that yesterday. We're not out of the woods yet, folks. We're not done with this yet. From David Shepardson. Passenger rail Amtrak said it will temporarily cancel all the long-distance trains starting on Thursday, along with some state-supported trains because of a potential freight work stock. Wow, it'd be really impressive if I could read today. Because of a potential freight rail work stoppage that could start the following day. Amtrak workers are not involved in the labor dispute, but the railroad operates almost all of its 21,000 route miles outside the U.S. Northeast Corridor on track owned, maintained, and dispatched by freight railroads. Railroads, including Union Pacific, Berkshire Hathaway's, BNSF, and Norfolk Southern, have until a minute after midnight on Friday to reach a tentative deal with 3 holdout unions representing 60,000 workers before a work stoppage affecting freight and Amtrak could begin. Now, I want to note some of the dates on this. Trains to be canceled starting on Thursday are the Auto Train, Washington to Sanford, Florida, Capital Limited, Washington to Pittsburgh, Cardinal, Washington to Chicago, and Palmetto, south of Washington to Savannah, Georgia. Before Pinco Pox, Amtrak had about 4.4 million passengers annually on long-distance trains, which actually kind of surprises me, I'm not going to lie. Late Thursday, Amtrak said it would cancel some state-supported train services starting late in the day, including Capital Corridor, Amtrak Cascades, Heartland Flyer, Illinois, Michigan, and Virginia services, as well as San Joaquin's and part of the Pacific Surfliner and Springfield services. The dates. This article was originally written on September 14th. Some commuter train systems, such as Chicago's Metro, have also said they'll be forced to begin cutting services on Thursday. Minnesota's North Star Commuter Rail, operated under a contract by Berkshire Hathaway's BNSF, says that serves the Minneapolis area, said its service could be suspended as early as Friday. But this was updated 1:17 a.m. on September 15th. So, with that being said, there is no indication that Amtrak is getting ready to go back out and start its long-term services back up. Because we are not out of the woods on this yet. It'd be nice if we were, but we are not there yet, so this is something to continue to watch and see what happens with this. From the Hill, here's what's in the White House brokered deal that averted railway strike. From Carl Evers Hillstrom. Railroads and unions reached a tentative contract agreement Thursday morning, averting the threat of an imminent strike that would have ravaged the nation's economy. The Biden admin intervened in negotiations to push both parties towards a compromise ahead of Friday, the first day that workers could legally walk out. The two largest rail unions on Thursday said the deal provides wins for workers that weren't included in previous contract proposals. Here are 5 major gets in the agreement according to unions. Time off for medical appointments. In the agreement, workers will be allowed to take time off for medical appointments without being penalized. This was a key sticking point in held-up negotiations. Leading rail unions warned that the members would not ratify an agreement that didn't address sick time. More time off. Workers were provided voluntarily assigned days off and given 1 additional paid day off. Rail workers have complained about widespread fatigue and attendance policies that complicate the ability to take time off for any reason. Block healthcare hikes. The agreement blocks increases to healthcare copays and deductibles, a big get for workers. Unions said the measure took 20 hours of negotiations to secure. Two-person cruise. The deal protects two-person crews for the indefinite future, another top priority for workers who said they faced increased safety risks by being forced to operate trains solo. On the pay raise side, workers will receive 24% of raises over 5 years, back pay, cash bonuses. These terms were similar to those recommended by a White House-appointed board on the matter last month. The deal will go to union members for a vote. The workers had pledged to vote down a contract based on the presidential board's guidance because it didn't address their concerns about unsafe working conditions and insufficient sick leave. We listened when our members told us that a final agreement would require improvements to the quality of life as well as economic gains. The Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen and the Smart Transportation Division, which together represent nearly 60,000 rail workers, said in a statement. GOP senators on Wednesday attempted to pass a resolution that would have enacted the board's terms, but Democrats blocked it, arguing the parties should have time to negotiate a deal. So, with that, it does look like there are some things going on. Now, this has not been voted on, but people can go back and return to work today because of the fact that this is still tentative. I don't know if this will pass or not. And we'll continue to watch and see where some of this goes. But one of the things to note as well, especially constantly having two-man crews, which means hiring more people, on a wage that just got raised, does mean that some of your freight is going to start going back up. And I do want you to pay attention to that as well. Now, as far as these workers, I don't want them to go without a living wage. They are doing a hard job. But do keep in mind that is going to be an effect on inflation. And this won't hit again, just like the student loan forgiveness, just like the Inflation Production Act, and just like this now. None of this is going to start hitting until after the midterms. A question to me as to whether or not this was planned to come to a head at this point. But we will see what happens with that. Let's grab one from CNN. Why the threat of rail strike is delayed but not gone. From Chris Isidore. Well, You just kind of gave them whatever they wanted at the 11th hour, so there is that. And when they decide that they want more, they'll do so facing a strike while we're still in supply chain woes. There will be no freight railroad strike early Friday, but the threat of strike has not gone away entirely. The tentative deal reached early Thursday after a marathon 20-hour bargaining session between the railroads and the leaders of the Engineer Conductors Union means the strike that had been due to start at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time Friday will not occur. But the agreements still need to be ratified by rank-and-file union members for it to go into effect. The details of the ratification vote have yet to be set, but it's likely weeks away, although the union's leadership described the agreement as a negotiating win. A successful ratification vote is not yet assured. Some union members appear to criticize the deal on social media, and the union's leadership conceded that some rank-and-file members may be unsatisfied with the deal. We get a little bit of paid time off. We'll live to fight another day, you know. That's part of bargaining, said Michael Baldwin, president of the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, told CNN when the members look at what's in the contract. I think they're going to see that the wages and extra day of paid leave is going to be beneficial to them. Sometimes you can't accomplish everything, so you come back next time. Another leader said he was confident the tentative deal would be accepted. I think we got everything we could, Dennis Pierce, president of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, told CNN. And I think once our membership understands where we sit and what's in it, I think it'll ratify. Watch for Bernie Sanders to come back out and start going down to these union halls and saying, Why? Why would you vote for a thing like this? I want you to have more. I want you to be just as rich as the people who own these railroad companies, who put billions into their pockets. Why don't you put billions into your pockets? Rank-and-file union members working in other industries have recently balked at approving their deals, even when recommended by their union leadership. While most union contracts are ratified, there have been some very high-profile examples of angry union members voting no. About 10,000 members of the UAW union at farm equipment maker John Deere went on strike last fall after rejecting a lucrative tentative agreement. That rejected offer included immediate raises in the base pay of 5 to 6%. The additional wage increase later in the contract would have increased average pay by about 20% over 6 years, and it had a cost of living adjustment that would have given them additional pay based on the rate of inflation. Man, I wish I could have that. But more than 90% of the UAW members at Deere voted no, and they went on strike, and they stayed on strike after rejecting a subsequent deal. They finally returned to work after 5 weeks after a third vote on a similar package passed. And we saw the same thing with Kellogg's. We saw the same thing in a lot of stuff here, and one union's already voted no. A smaller railroad union has already voted to reject the tentative agreement, the unit of the Machinists Union, that has about 5,000 members working as mechanics for locomotive and track equipment and facility maintenance personnel, but that union is not preparing to go on strike immediately, and instead would try to seek a new deal by the end of the month. The deal reached with the engineers and conductors could affect those negotiations. So, a lot of stuff moving off of this, but no, we are not out of the woods yet. And we'll continue to watch this because this will be the kicker coming into the midterms. And by the way, one thing to pay attention to with this is going to be when this affects and when this hits in relation to the midterms. And because of the news coverage, the rail union people know that they can hold the Biden admin's feet to the fire. Because if they go on strike anywhere between now and, let me look at the calendar here. Anywhere between now and November 1st, the Biden admin is screwed, and so are Democrats in the House. They can literally get whatever they want right now with the threat of a strike. Holding the American people at hostage on top of it. So, we'll see what happens with this. But we've got some Shapiro, because of course he had to come in and weigh on this. He's a money guy. And a legal guy. That is a joke that I probably should not be saying on the cusp of losing my YouTube channel. On the cusp of getting my last strike on YouTube, I should probably not be telling that joke about Ben Shapiro right now. That was probably a stupid thing to do. From the Daily Wire, unions can't hold out, the Democrats at gunpoint. Ben Shapiro flames Joe Biden for caving to the railroad labor demands, from Ben Ziesloft. Daily Wire editor Ben Shapiro shredded Joe Biden on Thursday for capitulating to labor unions while attempting to avoid a nationwide railroad strike. I might have to go listen to that. I don't know. I don't typically listen to other podcasts other than the ones that are on, that I'm promoting. Well, I guess we don't have a Terms and Pages network yet, but other than the ones that I'm promoting, I don't really listen to a lot of other podcasts, but I might have to go back and listen to that one. I bet you that would be interesting. BNSF, CSX, Norfolk Southern, and Union Pacific announced the embargoes on certain shipments earlier this week, as the White House facilitated negotiations with multiple rail unions, culminating in 11th-hour talks with Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. Although the White House did not reveal details, the current tentative framework includes 24% pay increase between 2020 and 2024, which includes an average $11,000 retroactive payout, according to a statement from the Dissociation of American Railroads. During an episode of The Ben Shapiro Show that aired on Thursday, Shapiro noted that Democrats are by no means neutral actors in union negotiations. That's fair. Okay, gang, Biden has made it a high priority in the United States to boost unions. Why is he boosting unions? He's boosting unions because unions support him, he explained. The biggest problem in America, public life, is not people who are pressing for the interests of a particular group in politics. That's the norm. The biggest issue in American public life is, it's unions that sign actual contracts with the government, actual legitimate contracts, okay, gang, with the government of the United States, paying people that they're negotiating with to get elected. Indeed, Marty Walsh led the labor unions, Laborers International Union of North America Local 223, before becoming mayor of Boston in 2014. Laborers Union contributed $7 million to the Senate Majority PAC during the 2020 election cycles to 8 Democrat candidates, according to the data from Open Secrets. I'm actually a little surprised it's that low. Democrat policymaking is a question of shifting to the burden of somebody else, always. Your political allies will get all the benefits, and your political enemies are the ones who receive all the cost. You stick everybody else with the bill, and the idea that you could stick somebody else with the bill. That's just politics in the making, okay, gang? Shapiro added that threats of rail strike occurring weeks before the 2022 midterms was no coincidence. The amount of damage that was likely to have been done on this railroad strike. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Ben Boys. The amount of damage that was likely to have been done if this railroad strike had happened would have been egregious, which means that they had Joe Biden over a barrel. Joe Biden, actual House plant in chief, actual block of wood, Joe Biden over a barrel, which is also made of wood. The economic cost of a nationwide rail shutdown would have amounted to about $2 billion a day, according to a report from the Association of American Railroads. A reality that would have worsened existing supply chain bottlenecks driven by labor shortages and worldwide government lockdowns. Among other issues, inflationary pressures are a considerable liability for Democrat candidates across the country. Prior to an election, unions can hold the Democrats at gunpoint, and the Democrats will just give away to the store, Shapiro explained. That's exactly what just happened with the railroads. So, I mean, he's not wrong either, especially on situations like the rail union, where this actually shuts down commerce. It'd be the same as if the truckers union, although there's enough independent owner-operators that aren't union drivers that would keep the lifeblood going. This is not good, and they know it. Just like I said, they know that they can come out and demand whatever they want, and probably get it at this point. Alright. And one last one before we get into the Martha's Vineyard and Naval Observatory stuff. Let's listen to the Houseplant Chief.
Think about what you'd think about at the time. Think about how you'd feel if you didn't have the insurance and didn't have the money. It's wrong. It's not who we are, and we're going to think about what you'd think about at the time. Think about how you'd feel if you didn't have the insurance and didn't have the money. It's wrong. It's not who we are, and we're going to think about what you'd think about.
Classic dementia, Alzheimer's symptom, unexplained anger. Couldn't have said it better myself, actually. It's like there's Mar-a-Lago news, but we still need to talk about what's actually happening with the economy. Alright, Insider Paper tweets out. New, 2 migrant buses from Texas arrive outside VP Kamala Harris's official residence. Kind of love how the one just has a scooter, randomly. He's walking off the bus and he's got a scooter. Like it's the most normal thing in the world. From Fox 5 out of D.C. 2 buses of migrants dropped off outside VP Harris's residence near Naval Observatory in D.C. From Fox 5 DC Digital Team. 2 buses of migrants were dropped off Thursday morning outside Vice President Harris's residence in Northwest Washington, D.C. Approximately 100 migrants, mainly from Venezuela, arrived just before 7 a.m. from Del Rio, Texas, and offloaded outside of Harris's official residence, the U.S. Naval Observatory near the main guard gate. I want to tell you that our border is secure. And that's because having a secure border is the priority of any nation. Fox News reporter Griff Jenkins was there in D.C. as Secret Service agents arrived at the gate while the migrants stood outside with bags of their belongings before moving to a nearby church. The migrants were picked up in Eagle Pass, Texas, and were sent by Greg Abbott, Fox News reports. Governor Abbott released a statement about the migrants being dropped off in D.C., saying that the practice will continue. The Biden-Harris administration continues ignoring and denying the historic crisis at our southern border, which has endangered and overwhelmed Texas communities for almost 2 years, said Greg Abbott. Our supposed border czar, Vice President Harris, has yet to even visit the border and see firsthand the impact of open border policies she has helped implement. Even going so far as to claim the border is secure, Texas will continue sending migrants to sanctuary cities like Washington, D.C. until President Biden and border czar Harris step up and do their jobs to secure the border. Excuse me. Fox 5 spoke with Muriel Bowser on Thursday regarding the situation. Well, you've heard me say throughout this experience since April that we have a national problem that's going to require a national response. I don't know. Muriel, kind of sounds like you have a local problem. We're going to have to do all that we can in D.C. to make sure that the people have a humane welcome and transfer to their final destinations, but we see in the months ahead that this problem could worsen. I know what we're dealing with, Bowser said when asked if the experience has given her a better understanding of what's being dealt with elsewhere in the country. I'm elected to make sure D.C. residents have what they need and our systems can support our needs. When we have emergencies, we set up emergency responses. And that's what we're doing to focus on what's coming our way. So my question here is, why is this an emergency? These are people after all, damn it. And you said yourself, we think that our border should be open, and we in DC will be a sanctuary city. We will not allow Customs and Border Protection and ICE to come and operate within our city limits. And if they do, they'll be arrested by Metro Police. So why would this be an emergency? This seems to be what you wanted. For me, there's a political debate to be had about immigration. The point is that I want to make is that we have a system that makes sense, that's fair, and that gives people a pathway to citizenship who are here. And that is something that has to be handled by Congress and the President, she said. Okay, well that's cool, but you said that it's against the law, the municipal law, for ICE to practice in your city. We're mayors like me that are dealing with crisis not of our making. And we're not a border town. We don't have the infrastructure to handle this level of immigration into our city. But we will create a new normal here in our infrastructure and have a humane welcome for people and an efficient service provision. But we don't have the ability. We're not Texas. I'm pretty sure they understand and see the situation clearly, Bowser said, when asked if she thought the situation would make the Biden admin see the immigration problem more clearly. All the lawmakers here and the lawmakers in their homes in Texas or Arizona, they need to understand that we need a system, an immigration system that works, that's fair at the border, but also is dealing with the millions of people who live here who need a pathway to citizenship. So, that is what's happening, and we've got some photos here. We've got more photos off ABC7. Of, what was it, approximately 100 migrants that showed up at the Naval Observatory. From ABC7, photos and probably video as well, of about 100 migrants dropped off at VP Harris's home from 7 News staff. Got a live feed of this. We've got the reporting feed of this. It's like we've got a speech, so we've got some stuff to look at for this one here. Let's start with this.
Today, more busloads of migrants arrived in the district. This time, they were dropped off near the vice president's house in Northwest. 7 News has been covering this situation for months now, as the Texas governor is busing migrants here to make a point about the situation down there at the border. 7 News' Sam Ford live for us with the very latest. Hi, Sam.
Hello, Dave. Well, you know, for the last 6 months, migrants have been arriving here, and over this time, the nonprofits like Samu Karesan had a system developed. They would be dropped here at Union Station. They would process them to send some to New York or other cities with tickets, and then some to hotels here in D.C., and it worked that way. But then this morning, the governor of Texas apparently decided he wanted them dropped off somewhere else, at the vice president's house.
So that I can bring my family, so that I can have a better chance of life.
A migrant from Venezuela, like most of the others among the 101 passengers from Texas, dropped off near the vice president's house on 2 buses, miles from Union Station downtown, where hundreds of other buses had dropped more than 9,000 migrants since last April.
Our teams were at Union Station at 5:30 in the morning waiting for the 2 buses that we were expecting for Texas. At 7:30, we got a message asking us about the people that were dropped off here, and that's when we realized that the bus had changed its route.
Representatives of the Latino civil rights group LULAC came to the area denouncing Texas's governor for what they call using immigrants as human piñatas.
They were just literally dumped like human garbage in front of the vice president's house. That's un-Christian, un-Texan, un-American, and something that should not be allowed.
The group scrambled to find places for the migrants, using private cars to drive them from upper Northwest back downtown where they could get services. And Mayor Bowser has
I'm always entertained by these people who come out and say that, oh, well, when they're busting them around here, they're using them as political pawns. You mean like the kids in cages thing? Which, by the way, was an Obama policy. Just so you know. They've always been used as political pawns. You're just mad the other side is using them. Let's see, what else do we have here? Here's a live ground signal from the Naval Observatory. Or maybe not.
Where they're going, because it's not this little process where they were brought into custody before they were put in that bus. Most of the people that you want to go to New York. I think you meant where you're going.
Yeah, that's what he meant.
Some of the documents, like, some people are trying to
Good policy.
right now, we're kind of reporting out of the mayor's press conference. She's talking about something else, but she also
Espanol sound.
permanent housing.
I know, yeah.
Legislation for the city council, and that it's up to them to approve the option.
I don't even know if you talked about that. The idea of
There they are, headed for the bus to be taken away from the nice neighborhoods, being taken away from the capitals, the elites, the Naval Observatory,
Hey, good morning, Bill and Dana.
and put up among the common masses again.
And some of the last migrants getting into a...
Okay.
So,
What a morning.
Let's see. What else do we have? We have this guy, the speech.
My name is Domingo, D-O-M-I-N-G-O, Garcia, G-A-R-C-I-A, and I'm the national president of LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, the nation's largest and oldest Latino civil rights organization. And we're based in here in D.C. and also in Texas. And I'm from Dallas, Texas. And my family's from Eagle Pass, where the buses came from. Just background. Eagle Pass is on the border with Mexico. Ready? Everybody ready?
This guy's not prepared.
He was using human beings, babies, families, as political piñatas for a political stunt by bringing these buses at 6 o'clock in the morning. Many of these refugees, by the way, have health issues. I believe one had diabetes and had to get insulin. Babies that were brought here, meeting with just a trash bag of their personal belongings. And they were just literally dumped like human garbage in front of the vice president's house. That's unchristian, un-Texan, un-American, and something that should not be allowed. And Governor, shame on you, Governor Abbott. Shame on you, Governor DeSantis. Tomorrow we go to Martha's Vineyard. These political stunts have no role in American politics. This is being used in immigration as wedge politics and something that is being done for the midterm elections. That's what all this is about. Now, let me just say, it's time for Republicans and Democrats to start working together to fix a broken immigration system. The reality is there are immigrants who are being deported every day, millions of them. But if you are from certain countries, like this bus, most of them are from Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. These are people fleeing communist regimes, fleeing repression, and they actually believe the Statue of Liberty means something. That it's give us your poor huddled masses yearning to be free. But what we're seeing is certain governors are using these families and these refugees for political stunts. And again, it's deplorable, and it's really inhumane to treat people like that. These are...
It's deplorable. It's really horrible that they're coming out and sending these people out to cities where we said that we would welcome them with open arms. We're a sanctuary city. Garcia has unveiled the Stop the Buses task force in a nationwide campaign to prevent the continued use of undocumented immigrants ahead of the 2022 midterms. You voted for these policies. I don't necessarily think that this is right either. I think that there should be more focus on figuring out why these people are coming here and trying to stem the tide for that. And let's be realistic. A big part of the reason that a lot of these people are coming here is because they believe that it's easy. I mean, the only deterrent that they've had for life was, do not come, do not come. But regardless of whether or not it's right at this point, they're in this country, and these cities, these mayors, some of these governors have said, hey, you know what? We're going to be a sanctuary. You know, if you want to escape from the evil, repressive means of Texas, come to our state and we'll be a sanctuary for you. We won't let ICE operate here. And you know what? The people who would let ICE operate in their states said, okay, well, if you don't want to let ICE operate, this is going to be a much safer place for these people than in Texas and Arizona. All I'm doing is being charitable to them. So, that's what we have for that. Let's turn our focus back north to Martha's Vineyard. This is an op-ed from Fox News from Tucker Carlson. And I will do my best to do Tucker voice for this one. Let's see. Why no one in Martha's Vineyard, including the Obamas, celebrated the migrants. And we'll be talking about that too, because I've got some doozies for that one. From Tucker Carlson. Finally, a happy story for once. Outbursts of irrepressible joy erupted throughout the exclusive island community of Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts last night. For hundreds of years, Martha's Vineyard has suffered from the soul-crushing effects of its own whiteness. Island residents understood that there was only one cure. They badly needed diversity. In fact, they often said so. But despite their very best efforts over many years, diversity has never come to Martha's Vineyard. It was tragic. Imagine an 18th century British frigate adrift in the high seas with no lines, no sailors, slowly going mad. Convulsing, dying, excruciating deaths from scurvy. That was Martha's Vineyard, except it wasn't lime juice they lacked. They had plenty of that because you can't make a gin and tonic without it. Nice. I don't typically care for Tucker Carlson, but I will give credit where credit was due. That was funny. What Martha's Vineyard lacked was diversity, which is to say strength. Martha's Vineyard was a very weak place. As of yesterday morning, the island was 89% white, monochromatic, and utterly homogeneous. Yeah, some of those bloodlines are certainly homogeneous. We won't go into that. Nearly everyone there was a rich Democrat. 80% voted for Joe Biden. The median home price was over $1 million. And then in a single blessed moment, everything changed. Relief arrived from an unlikely source. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, having made his own state of paradise, decided to help other states desperately in need. So yesterday, the center sent 50 illegal aliens, most of them from Venezuela, to Martha's Vineyard Airport. They traveled from San Antonio to the Florida Panhandle and filing to their new home in Martha's Vineyard. CBS Boston reports that after landing, the group wandered about 3.5 miles from the airport into town, thereby instantly approving it. You can imagine the unrestrained jubilation in Martha's Vineyard tonight. Long-suffering islanders finally rescued from their oppressive whiteness. In fact, let's go there now to check out the celebrations. Well, that's not expected? Obviously, there's been a mistake. No, our producers are telling us there are no techno problems. That is, in fact, a live shot from Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts right now. But where were the weeping, joyful crowds? Where was the champagne and the ticker tape? We expected Times Square and VJ Day. What we got was a cemetery at midnight. What? But maybe it's not so confusing. Maybe things aren't as they seem. Our first clue is Barack Obama. Barack Obama is a part-time resident of Martha's Vineyard. Obama is also, of course, as you know, the country's greatest proponent of diversity. For years, Obama earnestly told us that immigrants were better than Americans. They were holy. They make our country strong. Okay, I can't do this anymore in that character. Tucker hits on a couple of very big points off of this. And again, a lot of these people in an 80% Democrat town are telling us how charitable that we should be and how evil poor Republican areas are for not wanting to have these people in their areas. Meanwhile, they live in gated communities, separated from the rest of society. And they don't want the poors to come out into their little areas in Martha's Vineyard. And we'll look over some of that in just a moment here. They want everyone else to shoulder the burden while they sit back and sip their champagne and their gin and tonic at the country club and laugh at the plight of red states. And I mean, you see that on Twitter all the time. Oh, well, the red states are the worst in education and the worst, and they only survive from welfare from Massachusetts and California. Let's see. John Cooper, but not the John Cooper that blocked me on Twitter, unfortunately, has a Token University hire clip here, so let's listen.
They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C. or being left in Martha's Vineyard. They deserve a lot better than that. They deserve better than being left on the streets of D.C. or being left in Martha's Vineyard.
No, much better they live in squalor, in places where ICE can come and pick them up at any day. And again, I point out the fact that these are sanctuary cities, which means that ICE and Border Patrol are not allowed to operate in these cities. No, much better that they live close to the border, where they could be kicked out and shoved out at any time. And God forbid they have to go to Martha's Vineyard, which, having been a former Mass resident, I can understand where that's actually a problem. I hope to God I never become a Massachusetts resident ever again in my life. From the Blaze, Carrie Lake weighing in on this one. Carrie Lake is not a fan of DeSantis sending illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. She would go further to secure the border. From Chris Pandolfo. Arizona gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake had a contrarian take for a Republican on the news that Florida Governor DeSantis sent 2 planes full of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard as a part of his state's plan to relocate migrants to sanctuary cities. Appearing on Tucker on Wednesday, Lake said that while it's fun to watch Democrat officials complain that sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago are turning into unofficial border towns, illegal immigrants should be deported, not transported to the U.S. at taxpayer expense. I actually get a kick out of it watching these liberal mayors just, throw their hands up and say, we can't handle it because it's life every day for us in these border states, Lake told Fox News host Tucker Carlson. However, I'm not a fan of it, Tucker. I mean, we're just taking people here illegally who shouldn't be here. We're moving them further inland. Well, Carrie, you live in a border state, so you have no idea the fact that they're coming inland anyway. Fox News first reported Wednesday that DeSantis had sent 2 planes full of migrants to the Mass Island of Martha's Vineyard, a popular summer vacation spot for affluent Americans. DeSantis spokeswoman Tara Fensky said that migrants were relocated as part of a $12 million program approved by the Florida legislature to remove illegal immigrants from the state. Let's listen.
You're coming on. So you've made, I think, the clearest, leaving aside whatever anyone thinks about the last election, you made the clearest defense of free speech that I have seen this year.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We go back to this old document called the U.S. Constitution, and I spent 30 years, Tucker, as a journalist, so the First Amendment is pretty darn important, and they seem to be taking that away from us right now. But you've described basically the left's hypocrisy, and you've described that old saying, when they've lost the debate, they resort to slander, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Well, exactly, because I mean, I'm not in Arizona, but it's sort of been following your campaign. And I think you have really provocative and, in my view, true things to say about, for example, immigration, but those aren't covered because you're a big lie adherent. Do you believe the media uses that slur to make certain people won't hear what you're saying about the issues?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if they aren't bad-mouthing me and running hit pieces on me, then they will have to talk about the issues. And when you look at our policies, our America First, Arizona First policies, once they start covering that, it's game over. We win in a landslide, and then they're stuck with me for 8 years. And I think I'm a nightmare for the liberal media in Arizona.
So your opponent, and this may have changed by airtime tonight, but last I checked, your opponent was refusing to debate you, citing NBC News and CNN, saying she's crazy. Can she get away with that?
Well, she seems to be getting away with it. I mean, she's getting raked over the coals, even by the mainstream media. But it tells you how little her staff and her supporters think about her. They would rather her get just trashed right now in the media than show up for a debate, because they know that she has no policy to stand on. She's got a terrible back. I mean, if you look back at when she was a legislator, she voted against a border wall. She voted against a virtual border wall. She voted against funding border security. But yet she did write legislation to make sure we start teaching sex education in kindergarten. Her priorities are whacked. And the people of Arizona are really turned off by the fact that she won't show up for a debate. It's a job interview. The people of Arizona are the hiring manager, and we're showing up for a job interview. You don't get the job if you don't show up for the interview.
So a little bit of breaking news as well, by the way. I'm just kind of looking over at, I do keep a little bit of a news feed over on the other screen here. And it does appear that number one, it's been brought to light that El Paso has also been busing migrants out there, but it's been on a city, and they have a city contract to go and bus migrants to New York City. But they're not being criticized, only Abbott is. And also, does look like there was a large Fed release of illegal immigrants into El Paso as well. 50, what was it? 50,000, I think, just got released out there, it looks like. Oh, just 1,000. 1,000 migrants released on the street by the feds in the past week in El Paso alone. But sending 50 willing people to Martha's Vineyard causes a liberal meltdown. So there does appear to be some pushback on the other direction off this at this point. One of the things, and like Carrie Lake pointed out too, as what I said a couple articles, the ideal would be to stem the flow, to make it so that anybody who does want to come here, and I'm not, immigration full stop, like one of my best friends is. Because I don't really care what color skin you have, what culture you come from, and I do enjoy Latin women as well. But I do want everybody to go back through the system legally, so, and for partial reasons, so that we can vet and make sure that there are not criminals that are wandering across, but also, so they can't come in here and undercut and take $2 a day to go do the same work that our white liberal elites on the Democrat side are demanding you and I get $15 an hour for. So they can't come back and undercut our jobs like that. That is one of my biggest problem with illegal immigration is the fact that it makes it so easy for the people who are coming here through that methodology to undercut the rest of us who just want to carve out a living. I would like to see, and again, the people in the border states can make the decision as to who they want to let into their states and into the country for the criminality of things. But the fact of the matter is that if they are on paper, it makes it much, much harder for an enterprising, usually Democrat businessman, to have their slave labor getting $2 a day, and if they go to try to complain of it, oh, you're going to dissent? Oh, hey, I've got this button on my phone that takes me straight to ICE. Do you want me to push this button? But that's what we have for that. This was an interesting thread that I found. I think I was already live when I found it. I think I added it while the title card was up. Should maybe throw some music back up here and maybe throw some live chat back up here. See what you guys are doing, because we will be reading the live chat later on today. 8 people watching across all the channels. But we have a thread here from Aiden Kearney, TB, who is at Dr. Turtleboy over on Twitter. He says, I'm in a couple Martha's Vineyard Facebook groups, and they're all turning on each other, calling out their friends for not letting migrants into their summer homes. All right, so here, Martha's Vineyard, Chris Bach. Kathy Lander says, find them permanent housing. I'm sorry, I thought there was a housing shortage here. Deborah Marlin says, do you need anyone to help with evenings? Where can clothing be given to them? Can we just come and give them nice clothing? Mike LeBlanc, you're funny. Pat Nagy, what else do they need? And Tom D replying to it says, Pat Nagy, they need housing. You have 2 summer rentals. Oh. Ooh. Going on here, down the thread a little bit more. Obama has room. I'm sure he does, but that's not the point. It kind of is, though, Rebecca. Rebecca Bahena says, here's the thing. DeSantis absolutely can send refugees to Massachusetts, and we have services set up to help them, and ease the stress on our border states. But without notice, he dumped them, not in Boston, where support systems are in place, but in Martha's Vineyard, which has no existing services. In my opinion, it was a political stunt that shows DeSantis to be both calculatingly partisan and deeply cruel. Chris Keniston says, Obama has room. And Rebecca replies, I'm sure that he does, but that's not the point. Let's see. Ron DeSantis is sick because he's sending people to an island paradise where they're welcomed. Permanent housing, I thought we were just doing a weekend camp out. I'm not willing to let them live with me, but I have some hand-me-down clothes. I'm a good person, right? Maria says, this is heartbreaking. How sick is DeSantis to treat people like that? I don't know. Maybe we should ask the women in his state, as he robs them of their bodily autonomy. Kathy says, find them permanent housing. I'm sorry. I thought there was a housing shortage here. And Deborah, we saw that one. Where can clothing be given to them? Can we just come and give them nice clothing? And the last one, I'll do 2 more. But I will also, by the way, link this thread in the chat, because you guys deserve to go look through this at your leisure. So we'll do this one and the next one, and then we'll move on from this one here, because it's already 9. And I still have the notebook, and it does look like, oh, I can't do that on Twitch. Well, guess what? I still can. Haha. I am the master and the god of this Twitch channel. I can still put that in there. Fear me, Twitch. You can block the link from Restream, but you cannot block the link from the streamer. Haha. Sai San says, we, who voted Democrat, promised our support for illegal immigration and supported a sanctuary state. Now the illegal immigrants are being transported to us because our votes agreed to support them. I can't understand how anyone can formulate a logical argument as to why we shouldn't receive these folks. The border states voted to not support open borders, illegal immigration, so it makes sense that they would transport these folks to an area that welcomes them. What is the argument? Florida's doing the right thing in helping place these people where they are welcome. I don't understand the controversy. The controversy is that the people who voted for the open border states, or for the open borders, wanted the people to stay in the red states in the South so they could run them down and turn them into hellscapes. And by the way, that is how these people think, too. That's not me being exaggeratory. That's how these people think. They think that if the Poors come in, they will turn the place into an even more hellscape than it is. But see, they want that because they want to be able to come back out on Twitter and say, yeah, Florida is 47th in education. Ha 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 ha. Ooh, I got a resub again. Getting the resubs. By the way, thank you guys, everybody who did come back out and do the subscriptions, do the bits that you've done throughout this and everything else, all the commercials you watched over on Twitch. I just got my first payout from Twitch 2 days ago. It's still sitting in PayPal right now because I want to set that up so it goes into my savings, not in my checking. Because otherwise I'll spend it. And it should be going towards a house. So, dude, thank you. And since we got 2 resubs in the last 2 days, I am going to go and finish the upper tiers. I'm going to go back down there and get you the $10 tier and the $25 tier emotes as well. But yeah, Sai San doesn't understand the controversy because he doesn't... These people, they want the migrants coming here. Taking the jobs away from the plebs. Taking the apartments, as Terry Berry pointed out, away from the plebs. But to stay down there. Far, far away. They don't even want the people from Dorchester coming out to Martha's Vineyard. Do you think they want people from Venezuela up there? A little bit of misleading coming off of this. I think we are going to finish this out, and then we're going to probably jump off of this. Migrants sent by DeSantis to Martha's Vineyard said they were told they were going to Boston and could quickly find work there. Migrants sent to Martha's Vineyard by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to troll liberals. Oh, Jesus. You know, I wonder why my headphones break. And then I pull them off my head and toss them on the desk. And then I have to go spend $26 to buy a new pair. I wonder why they break. And then I see editorializing like this from a supposedly objective news source, even though it's out of Boston and it's definitely not objective. Said they thought they were going to Boston, NPR reported. NPR interviewed 3 of the migrants who were part of a group of 50 flown to 2 chartered planes from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. The island, part of Massachusetts, is well known as the vacation spot for wealthy liberals like Barack Obama and John Kerry, who own property there. The migrants said, per NPR, that a woman they identified as Perla lured them from a shelter in San Antonio into boarding a plane with promises of expedited work permits in Boston. Perla offered us help that never arrived, one migrant named by the outlet as Andres said. Now we're here. We got on the plane with a vision of the future of making it. Yeah, well, again, as I pointed out yesterday, with them going to Martha's Vineyard after Labor Day means that they're going to be there among the people who live there year-round, the workers, the workadays, and the people whose jobs they may be replacing because they'll work for $2 an hour under the table. When asked why he had got on a plane with limited information, he said, "Look, man, when you have no money and someone offers help, well, it means a lot." According to reports, migrants did not know where they were when they disembarked the planes, and local authorities had not been given any warning of the arrival of the migrants. And we have more editorialization. DeSantis appeared to hope to spread the chaos, with the migrant flights issuing statements by spokespeople saying that the burden of caring for migrants was just desserts for Democrat areas, which favor softer border policies. I really doubt that he said it that way. But also, he's kind of not wrong if he did. Once again, as I pointed out, Muriel Bowser said that she was a sanctuary city, and anybody who was running away from Border Patrol in Texas could go there while being over a day's travel. I think it's like 3 days travel away from DC. Oh, no. We'll take in any migrant that gets here. Wink, wink. It's going to take you forever to get here, but we'll take any one of you that makes it and doesn't get caught beforehand. I realize wearing glasses and being in the corner means you can't see my wink, but yeah. Or Chicago. Hey, if you can get here, yeah, we won't let Border Patrol come and get you. Just get here. And now they're actually being facilitated to get to these places, and now it's a national crisis because they're not getting one or two at a time that actually made the trip. They're getting 50, 100, 200 at a time. New York City is the same way. I'm sure there is a large amount of illegal immigrants in New York City. But it's the ones that came in 1, 2, 3 at a time over time because they made it all the way across the country. Not necessarily a busload or two that was set up by Abbott or Ducey. Instead, the locals rallied to provide them with shelter, food, and medical care on arrival. Yeah, that's not what the group chat is saying. And now, again, I understand that some of this is just some of the more egregious examples, but that's not what's being suggested by this. Also, by the way, property value on Martha's Vineyard is about to plummet like we've never seen before. I'm buying a house in West Tisbury this weekend. We have this one here. It says, "You'll need to build government housing projects for those in need." Charles Barso says, "Angela Bradford, yeah, and there's some new members of the labor force to help." Beth says, "I wonder how much they're paying for rent since there's hardly anywhere to stay." Norma Ray says to Beth, "Martha's Vineyard will have to house them in hotels. That's what Texas has been doing." This is an entertaining thread, and I do recommend that you guys follow the link that I put in chat. From WCVB 5, and no, we got 2 more. Then we'll be doing live chat. And then I will be going through this over the weekend and deciding what stays and what goes, which I've been kind of doing throughout the week as well, as I've been seeing stuff that's over a week old, because they just keep throwing us these major, massive news cycles. And I do have a limited amount of time during the week. From WCVB 5, Baker admin exploring moving migrants from Martha's Vineyard to Joint Base Cape Cod. Mass Governor Charlie Baker says admin is exploring another move for dozens of migrants who arrived on Martha's Vineyard on Wednesday aboard charter flights linked to Florida's state government. The Baker-Polito admin is exploring setting up a temporary shelter and humanitarian services at Joint Base Cape Cod and will share additional information as soon as it becomes available, Baker said in a written statement issued on Thursday. The group of approximately 50 Venezuelan migrants, some of them children, arrived aboard charter flights on Wednesday. They were brought to Martha's Vineyard Regional High School, where they were given snacks and shelter. They spent the night in the care of 2 shelters in Edgartown, where a humanitarian effort continued on Thursday. Volunteers were seen bringing supplies to the shelters, where the migrants are expected to spend at least one more night. They were told in Texas they were coming to a place that had jobs and the homes and shelter waiting for them, Larkin Stillangs, with the Martha's Vineyard Community Services, told WCVP. They feel lied to, they feel betrayed, and that, this was not expected, a translator for one of the migrants told WCVB. The migrants told WCVB that the woman in Texas approached them and told them to get on board the 2 chartered planes. They said they had no idea they'd be landing in Martha's Vineyard. They initially were told by a woman on the streets after asylum in San Antonio they were going to be sent to Massachusetts and that there was sanctuary there, the translator said. WCVB has made multiple requests for comment to Abbott's office in Texas and has yet to hear back. I'm surprised that a lot of these people aren't being picked up by the country club. Like, hey, we need people to come back and work for us. No questions asked. And Charlie Crist will get last word on this, and probably last word on the day, too. Is there anything else major, important, breaking that I need to get up here? I don't think so. I think that we'll finish off with this, and then we'll figure out over the weekend what to do with the rest of this. Florida's Charlie Crist says DOJ should intervene after Ron DeSantis' disgusting and vile move sending migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Professional grifter Charlie Crist. From Kimberly Leonard and Brian Metzger. I heard a joke not that long ago, because, Charlie Crist has been on a ballot in every major party that this country has, and even some minor ones. He's attempted to hold office as Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, Green, Constitution Party. There are parties that haven't been formed yet, and Charlie Crist has already filed the paperwork to go run as those parties. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Charlie Crist says that he would support the Department of Justice getting involved after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the Republican he's looking to unseat, used state funds to send Venezuelan migrants to Massachusetts. DeSantis' office on Wednesday took credit after 50 migrants arrived in 2 planes to Martha's Vineyard, where the local church provided temporary housing. The controversial move is sure to complicate migrants' ability to attend their immigration court hearings. Some attorneys took to Twitter to question whether DeSantis' actions were legal given the federal law prohibits transporting undocumented immigrants across state lines. Asked whether the Department of Justice should get involved during a virtual press conference on Thursday, Crist replied, "That sounds appropriate to me. Justice needs to be served here." Press Secretary Toke University Height referred journalists to the Department of Justice on Thursday when asked whether the federal government would take legal action against Florida. DOJ declined to comment on the matter. Using migrants as political pawns is reckless and just wrong, Diversity Hire said, adding that FEMA had just been in touch with local officials. DeSantis defended his actions during a press conference in Niceville, Florida on Thursday as necessary to protect the state of Florida from the impact of Biden's border policies. So that is interesting, and there actually is a U.S. code about transporting illegal immigrants across state lines. However, I'm pretty sure that during discovery, there is going to be some pointing out of the fact that this has already been happening for generations under both parties. And there are going to be a lot more people that need to be prosecuted than just DeSantis in order to do that. That'd be an interesting way to see where that goes and what happens with that. And whether it would go after Florida as a state entity or DeSantis as a personal entity. because DeSantis is acting in the capacity of the state of Florida by doing that. So that's what we have for that. It is 9:13, which means that we've got to go through and see the live chat, including everybody who's chatting today and everybody who chatted throughout the week. So we got 7 people watching right now. We hit 11, so thank you to those who lurked and took off for the day. But we do have this week's live chat. Again, not as many people chatting as many people watching, but again, as I said at the top of the show, we are hitting that demographic of getting people who are listening in the car with the kids, which is why I stopped using the F word and a litany of other swear words that I also don't use anymore on this program. And we have, on Monday, our top chatters were Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, A. Gaines P., Harvey McLeod, Randy Krushaga, Chitlaga 1984, and Arvolt 24. On Tuesday, we had Arvolt, A. Gaines P., Job for 9, Randy Krushaga, and Don't Today. Wednesday, very slow chat day on Wednesday, Randy Krushaga, Job for 9, and Arvolt. And I do think a couple of these outlets are not picking up the chat on them. Yesterday, our top chatters were Job for 9, Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, A. Gaines P., and Arvolt 24. And also, by the way, on the shoutouts, on the activity feed, I see that we had A. Gaines P. resubscribe for a month at Tier 1. Subscriber for 6 months, 3 days ago, this past week. So thank you for that. Always throws about $2.50 in my pocket every time you guys go with either your Prime sub or actual paid sub off of this. And Jake Paul's Tiny Left Nut, who is, I believe, Chupak Shalom, I saw in the chat today, has also subscribed and has been a subscriber for 3 months with the Based and the Apu. And again, over the weekend, it is time because, you know, we've got people staying subscribed for 6 months or so to go back and add up and get these upper tier emotes up there. I got a good slate, I think. I think we'll have some fun with the upper tier ones, but if you want to use the spicy ones, you got to pay for it. I mean, I'll let you come back and do this and let Twitch kick me off, but you got to pay. I can almost guarantee I'm going to be suspended by Twitch at some point. Especially when I go back and look at what the $25 tier emote is going to be. And there's only going to be one. But it's going to be worth it. Alright, what do we got going on today? Arvolt has got to do something. Yeah, before I reopened the restream, I saw that Arvolt had used a highlighted message. I do need to set up rewards for that. The problem with the rewards for the Twitch side is the fact that I can't see that on this program. And I don't, because I typically have the music up in this other window over here. So I can jump back down and grab the volume off of this. If I get the rewards up, there's more incentive for me to keep the Twitch stream up and see what it is that you guys are doing, because it, I think, shows me everything but the highlight in the activity feed over here. That's actually, I know we'll get some stuff going down here, but yeah, this is what my dashboard looks like. This is what I see if I have the Twitch up here, which is where I can see where the subscription was. I can see your chat over here. It's not very big, so I can't scroll back real big. That's why I use the restream one, because I can see much, much more of that. But then, yeah, I can see how many people are viewing, how long we've been on, how many followers we have, which we've been kind of stuck on that for a little bit. Yeah, the mirror and the mirror thing, plus the subs and the sub points. So that's what I see over here from this. But if I get rewards, then I think up over in the upper left corner, it'll show me everything except for the highlight. I just need to figure out what to do with them, how they won't interrupt the flow of everything, because we do have a limited amount of time, and I know a lot of you guys have a lot of points banked up because they don't really have rewards in there for you. But I can't see them from this screen, the one that we have up now. That'll be interesting. Maybe we should, especially some of you guys who use that, maybe we should get together and brainstorm and figure out how to do this and how to strike that balance. Because you guys typically do, especially the OGs, have some pretty good ideas for this. Where is Quest today? Quest is probably driving right now. I know he was down south. So he might be here listening, but in the car. Which means that I can't say the F word, because then Franny will learn it. I mean, she's already learning at an above grade level, but we don't want her to learn that on an above grade level. Especially with some of the stuff I have said before I realized I'm competing with AM radio. Man, I don't know how I still had viewers. I got filthy for a while. All right, Randy Crush Saga is here. Ron Helton is here with the AOC sticker. A Gaines is here with the globe off the emote. Thank you for that. Randy says Chinese stimulus got me feeling pretty stimulated. Well, you got a new home and you're away from the old lady and the kids, so what you do in your free time that's on you, dude. This whole album, by the way, because I've listened to just this album, the Meow Meow and Bow Bow album from DJ Cutman, is epic. It's all the Link's Awakening songs remixed. Nephilim Ninjas here says it's how hard out here in the streets running train. I think Mayor Pete's moved on from running a train in the streets. I think he can do so in a nice posh hotel room now. Arvold says, morning Ron, Randy Gaines, MKU, and all the lurkers and workers. Did I miss MK? I did miss MK. MK is here. MK Ultra 333. And Nephilim. Nephilim says, you thought it was over, but I'm afraid not. Gaines says, spot on, Bernie. The millionaires and the billionaires are keeping you from subscribing to this, so you have to come back out and subscribe to show them that you can still subscribe even though they're forcing you not to be able to do so. Randy. The barrel comment reminded me of that line from Horrible Bosses, but man, I can't read that one. Oh, that's nice though. I like that. Randy says, I think about what I think about all the time. Ron Helton says, a bunch of loons in charge of the government. Now, utterly ugly. I don't like the loons in the government. I do like the loons up in Minnesota. My elementary school principal, by the way, had a thing for the loon song. Like, anytime you were called in the office for more than just a disciplinary hearing, he was usually had a CD or a tape back then of loon sounds. But not like loon sounds like Kamala Harris, like the actual bird, the loon. It's kind of relaxing. I actually recommend, if you get a chance, have a listen to that. Ron Helton, unchristian, when did he last darken the door of a church? Arvolt with the caps, because he can do that on this side, on the D-Live side. I know the robot, because of, we had a little bit of a white supremacy problem over here for a while, and I set the robots up to purge caps. But there's no robot for the D-Live side, so Arvolt's out here with the caps says, keep sending them! Send more! Oh, come on. That's not what I wanted to do. And you know that's not what I wanted to do. That's Arvold screaming, keep sending them. Right there. That's Arvold in all caps right there. Randy says, wouldn't be refugees from Venezuela. MK, Tuck Daddy. Yeah, I did that character for a long time. Ron Helton says, education snobs. I will take decency, hard work, and common sense over these elitist snobs any day and all day. Jake Paul's tiny left nut. Which, by the way, I know I started late into the internet culture. I don't know who Jake Paul is. I keep hearing that name all over the place, and I know that he does boxing and stuff, but I don't really know who he is and why he's famous. I'm no longer Jupac. I've evolved. Terry Very is here. The people with 2 or more homes asking us plebes to give up our apartments. Well, hopefully by the spring this one will be vacated and they can bring a nice illegal immigrant family of 7 into this place with 1 bedroom and 600 square feet. Luke Wee is here. Morning, Luke Wee. Hope your drive is good. Yeah. Go through scroll back into the chat and find that link that I posted. Go through that. I mean, the responses that we read on air were entertaining, but there are even more. I can't see what that emote is. Jake Paul. Let me come over here and straw drink. That's what that is. Arvold says, Biden has been transporting illegals, but they won't investigate that. No, that they will not. Ron Helton says, the demon rats have always used immigrants for nefarious political purposes. Yeah, where is Quest today? He's a late chatter. He's probably driving. Most likely. Gain says, fingers the burn. Where's my free stuff? And then he says, feeling the burn. I like the first one better. I give him the finger as well. Arvold. Am I a white supremacist? And then I got a compliment on my meme template use. Yeah, it was Big Cat Kayla and then a bunch of her friends as well had come into both the Discord and then were constantly in the chat, and it was just a constant festival of all caps. Constant all caps all the time. That's why I set the robot up to catch all caps. Spamming emotes, spamming letters in all caps are pretty much the ones that the robot does. And links. Unless you're a mod. And then you can throw links up. Nice meme template use. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Jake Paul's Tiny Left Nut says he was on some Disney show as a kid, then he started a YouTube channel. We've got a little bit of time because we're ending a little bit early today. Let's find that out. Jake Paul Disney. I guess he's a professional boxer. Jake Joseph Paul is an American YouTuber, social media personality, actor, musician, rapper, and professional boxer who played Dirk Mann in seasons 1 and 2 of the Disney Channel series Bizaardvark and guest starred in the Walk the Prank special Talk the Prank with Jake and Logan Paul. I have never heard of this show. When did it run? 2016, huh? So it's relatively recent. It's an American comedy television series created by Kyle Stagina and Josh Lehrman that premiered on Disney in June 24, 2016. It stars Madison Hu, Olivia Rodrigo, which isn't she some sort of singer now? Jake Paul, Deborah Luridge, Ethan Whacker, Maxwell Simkins, and Eli Samuhi. I've never heard of this. But it's about kids being YouTubers. Frankie and Paige, according to this, are two teenage best friends who post songs and videos on the internet after hitting 10,000 subscribers on their Voogle channel, which I'm guessing is going to be a YouTube thing. Bizarre Bark, a portmanteau of the words bizarre and aardvark, they're accepted into the Voogle studios where they make their videos while also having to share them with other Vooglers. Yeah, it's probably a YouTube thing. Because Disney and Nickelodeon, they tried to get on the idea of, whatever's popular, text messaging, Twitter, or video hosting. That's how we got iCarly. It almost sounds like this one might have been just a few years too late. But, yeah, I'd never heard of this, which is probably why I'd never heard of Jake Paul. Arvolt says, Dry Save Quest, which I'm sure that he probably is driving off of this. And Jake Paul's Tiny Left Nut says, I had never heard of him either. I heard of his brother. Boxing is how I learned about Jake. He boxed a couple people that never boxed, then he boxed a couple retired UFC fighters. I want to try combat sports. I've been kind of changing the way that I do things a little bit here, as I've been lifting more and being more athletic, because I got up off the floor after turning a wrench. When I lived in Kenosha, I was too poor to do anything at all, period. End of story. There was no chance of doing anything like that at all. But then when I came out here, I went straight to a desk job, so, no athleticism there. But then now, where I'm currently at, I'm a lot more athletic, and I've obviously, you guys know I've been hiking some more. I've been to the gym more because I post it on Twitter and Instagram all the time. But I kind of want to do combat stuff too. Although, this would be probably my big weakness. I know they make sports ones for them, but they're really expensive and I'm trying to buy a house. So either, because I can see shapes from a sort of distance, but I don't have the sharpness and clarity to see somebody's intent in their eye from a distance, like I'm sitting right now. I can't see the chat from here. And I'm not sitting that far away from my monitor either. Probably 18 inches from where the chat is. And I can see where the lines end on the chat, but I can't see it. But I would love to learn how to box and UFC and things like that. I hear it's a fantastic workout. I don't even know where I would do that around here. I need to look here and, again, potentially, possibly into Kenosha. Just because there's a possibility that that could happen. It's not a huge possibility yet, but it's a possibility. It's about 60-40 in favor of me staying here right now. All right. Gotta yank these off for a sec to get these back over into my ears. And I think we're done. Put my glasses back on so I can see the scene changes. Can't do contacts. Can't figure out how to take them out. I can put them in. Figure that out. can't figure out how to take them out, and the eye doctor people, like, oh, yeah, we're not going to release contacts to you unless you can figure out how to take them out. Which is probably a good thing. That is probably a good idea. Otherwise, I hear that those things get really, really dry if you wear them eternally. What are we doing with the rest of our day? I know what I'm doing with the rest of my day. I'm going to get filthy. I'm going to go handle filthy pieces. And my hands will be black by the end of the day. So I will not be able to do what Arvolt did earlier and look at my hands and say, am I a white supremacist? By the end of the day. Alright, let's get the hell out of here before I get kicked off of YouTube again. Because this time they're going to delete my channel. And I have not yet downloaded 4 years worth of work. So we're going to try to avoid that if at all possible. Where's my outro music? There it is. Dude, we just screwed around for like the last 15 minutes and it's glorious. We can sit here and talk about Tucker Carlson and Martha's Vineyard forever, or we can screw around and talk about Jake Paul, whom I was aware of, but had no idea who he was. All right, let's get out of here for the day. So thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat and came back out and, you know, made everything fun and spicy and everything else. And oh, Horatius is here. Use your pinky to knock the contact off your eye, then grab with your pointer, finger, and thumb. Yeah, I can't figure out how to go back and touch my eye. That's the thing. I haven't downloaded 4 years worth of work. It takes some time for your brain to get used to putting your finger on your eyeball. Yeah, that's the part I can't get. Ron Helton says YouTube is going to return to cat videos. Odyssey. Everything that I do on YouTube, on the main channel, auto uploads to Odyssey. We're still going here. We're still doing. I do have to get with PJ Patriot and see how I can stream to Rumble and Odyssey, because I do have channels on both of those. All right, let's get out of here for the day. Thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Thanks to everybody who came by and subscribed, by the way, if you haven't done so, or see the PayPal link. We are on the home stretch to go buy properties, so definitely looking forward to seeing you guys here. Otherwise, come back here over the weekend. We'll probably throw another game stream up here to see if we can't generate a little bit more revenue, or be back here on Monday for more news, more headlines. I'm sure with the Martha's Vineyard thing, everything else is going to pop up over the weekend, so we will see what happens with that. And definitely looking forward to seeing everybody here, either for the game stream or on Monday for more Contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.